Welcome to Future of Fandom, the podcast where leagues, teams, and federations learn how to turn passive viewers into loyal superfans through gamification, loyalty, and next-gen engagement. Let's build what's next together.
Kara Baker, lovely to have you on our podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we've known each other for a few years now, but for the audience who may not know you, would love for you to give a little bit of an intro about what you do, where you come from, and we can kick it off there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it is crazy to think it's been a few years. I was looking back at some notes recently and meetings that took place in 2023. And now here we are, 2025, and business together and partnership and doing a lot of great things. But needless to say, Kara Baker, I am Senior Director of Digital Product and Operations here at TGL Tomorrow Sports, which is our parent company that owns TGL, which is the new indoor golf league that Tiger and Rory have created over the last few years. So sharing a little bit about that, because some people may be like, what is TGL? There's so
Yeah.
much we could talk about on the TGL front. It's brand new. It's awesome. We had a really great season 1 under our belts now.
And one of your co-founders just fulfilled a prophecy.
Yes, absolutely. Congrats, Rory. He won the Masters, took the Grand Slam. Yeah, we're definitely proud as a company, that's for sure.
That's awesome. Kara, can you tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got into the digital space in the sports world and what you did
Yeah, for
before
sure.
TGL?
It was a little bit of happenstance. I worked for NBC prior to coming to Tomorrow Sports, and NBC just is a large company where there's a lot of different opportunity. And I definitely was someone that moved around the company and did a lot of different things. And what I realized, and I was relatively still young in my career then, but what I realized was I can go do something brand new. You can throw me into the deep end, and I love learning new things. I'll learn to swim quickly and not sink. And that's a little bit of what was happening in my career inside of NBC. And there was an opportunity. We'd recently taken on a new partnership with Ryder Cup and PGA Championship Digital, and they were building an entire new team to supplement this partnership. And so a
Really?
role came open. I spoke to a variety of different people, and they felt like my skill sets, while not technically aligned on the digital side, but just on the operations side and the throw me in the deep end,
Yeah.
would quickly would just fit. And so needless to say, that's how I got into the digital space, and very quickly fell in love with the digital space and learned a lot, learned a lot fast in the
Yeah.
midst of COVID as well,
Uh,
and just fell in love with digital and all things product design, UX, UI, etc.
That's awesome. I'm sure the throwing in the deep end came in handy when the season one was postponed at the last minute.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, and just for further context there, like for TGL, we were supposed to launch in January 2024, and due to a few circumstances, we postponed the season to January 2025. But the way that we saw it is it just allowed for more time to finesse, to get things better, stronger, and we really launched season 1 better than we ever imagined we could have.
Yeah, and I can attest to that, having been part of that journey with you. Obviously, you mentioned that you started in digital as happenstance, and it was almost like during COVID. How has the world evolved in the last, I don't know, I guess 5-7 years that you've been in the space now? Like, how do you think fan behaviors, how you're catering to the younger audiences, has there been a shift during your time in digital?
Yeah, it's definitely shifted, and it's continuing to still shift, but I would say that having been in digital for the last 7 years, I've been part of that upward shift, whereas people that have been in digital for 20 or 30 years, it's obviously been much more dramatic when you're looking at
Yeah.
desktop to now the fan is mostly on mobile versus app, all those different things. But in the world that I've gotten to experience, it's really about how can we get the user more engaged? And there's just a whole new subset of analytics. Like every single thing that the user does can be measured. And so that's what we're frankly obsessed with. And that's what we're looking at constantly. And so every decision you make from a design perspective to where you're putting things, what content you're giving the user, how, etc. All of those things it's part of my job to
Yeah.
basically say, is this working? And are they engaging with it? How are they engaging with it? What's the amount of time that they're engaging with it?
Yeah.
So all of those things in the world of analytics and data and truly trying to have all of our users become known users, that's what I think that we're much more like advanced in in my time frame of digital versus people that have been in digital for 20 or 30 years. And some of those known users and analytics just were a little bit of a black box.
That's such a good insight, because to a certain extent, I think of Tomorrow Golf League as a league that has been sort of designed top down for a younger audience, right? It's not just the digital experiences, but even the gameplay and how it's broadcast and how the players are engaging. It's a different take on golf as such. And so how much do you work in tandem with your broadcast team or your marketing team in terms of how you're catering to these younger audiences? Are you guys sort of operating in silos as we see in most other organizations do? Or are you guys more working in unison?
Yeah, we're definitely working in unison, and that's one thing that I think that as just as an entire company, we do so well. We don't work in silos. We know that we want the brain power and the collaboration that all of us uniquely bring to the table. And so we work very closely with the social team, with the marketing team, and even the broadcast team as well. And it's just because we know to the point that I just made a few minutes ago where the fan is all part of this funnel,
Yeah.
and we all have different touch points in that funnel, and broadcast has the biggest reach, or
Yeah.
social has the biggest reach, and broadcast has the biggest reach, and then we're continuing to put them on that journey of digital, and whether that's the app, whether that's gamification, whether that is email, whatever it may be, and so the only way that you do that is by collaborating, and so that you're getting the broadcast team to promote something like Match Predictor, or the social team to do some sort of sweepstakes or giveaway that
Yeah.
then leads to a giveaway that's put behind a user registration. And so again, it's so important that you're collaborating with all of that. And as it goes toward like the younger demographic, in general, like the product, the product of PGL, as well as the product that I help run and oversee, it's just
Yeah.
it's catered to take someone younger. You're giving them something in, like, a bite size. You're giving them
Yeah.
something that is often what they're looking for more of, and
Yeah.
knowing, like, golf especially, and I'm a traditional green grass golf player myself,
Yeah.
and I love being outside and playing golf as many days as I can, but there's also this realisticness of time. And so giving something and on Monday or Tuesday night and a prime time window that's 2 hours, again, when you're looking at that younger fan, it's very
Yeah.
digestible, and that's what we were 100% trying to do, and we achieved it.
That's awesome. Obviously having seen a lot of these matches on TV, getting these players, seeing these players, the camaraderie and the banter, or even that moment that went viral where Tiger had thought it was a wrong. It was 199 or 99, and he played accordingly, and that created the younger players in the group having a laugh at it, and then Tiger sort of having a laugh at his own expense. You don't get those moments usually. So honestly, it's bringing such a different type of an audience into the fold at this point, and creates so many viral moments to a certain extent. I love it. Just shifting gears a little bit and thinking a little bit more from an operational perspective, from specifically in your role, you have to balance innovation with the realities of the ground realities that most people who hopefully are listening to this podcast face in their day-to-day jobs. I know you and I have had, in our brainstorming sessions, come up with 30 ideas. Maybe 5 of those, 10 of those have actually seen the light of day, and the rest have them in sort of backlog. How do you balance the need for innovation, especially in a league or a sport like what TGL is, versus the realities of what you can and cannot achieve with a finite amount of time and all the different moving pieces?
Yeah. It's a great question, and it was definitely the filter for almost every decision making we made this past year. And so you kind of you we ultimately everything became a tier. And so there's the base level product that if we went out with a website without scores as an example, that would be seen as we're not credible. Who are we? Like, we can't be a brand new sports leagues without the scores. So it's base level product of we wanted to have that. Clearly, we needed to have that, and we needed to make sure that the infrastructure and the architect that was supporting all of our data was incredibly sound. So that
Yeah.
became base level. Then you start to go up one level at a time, and of course, you work up to your nice to haves and your innovative things that are really cool. But do you actually need them?
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, what you're looking through everything through the lens of time and money. and then frankly reach and engagement. And so again, those are the filters that we're looking through things on. And we had to make decisions of our biggest goal for year one was bring in the audience, like teach people what TGL is,
Yeah.
make that funnel. And then I know I keep going back to the funnel, but make it as wide as possible. That's what
Yeah.
year one was, build the database. So then when you start to define goals like that and build the database, get people to watch on broadcast, then you start to say, okay, if these are the two most important goals, now all these really cool innovative things and ideas, do they help us achieve those goals? And that's where you quickly start to then say, no, it doesn't. This is really awesome and fun and
Yeah.
cool. But at the end of the day, like it doesn't get people to watch more on ESPN. It doesn't get people to go download the app. And so then you're
Yeah.
like, okay, good idea. Season 2, season 3, later, we're going to be in a different journey and a different goals on those seasons. So we really just made clear goals and then began just to filter everything through those goals and
I,
time and money.
there are, I think this sort of leads me or naturally flows into the next question. In a way, I've always thought about people treating fan engagement as specific features. Oh, I want polling. Oh, I want trivia. I want games. I want fantasy. I obviously have my own opinions on this, but I want to hear yours. How do you think of fan engagement as more of an ecosystem play versus launching new features for the sake of a press release, so to speak?
I love that you said that,
Yeah.
because I think that it's very easy in any world, but in the digital world, to launch features for the press release, and
Yeah.
it's for this cool moment, but does the user need it? Do they want it?
Yeah.
How much of your user and your audience is actually engaged? Is that the audience that you want engaged? There's so many things that you can unpack with that. And so, yeah, I'm 100% of the belief that fan engagement is an ecosystem, like 100%. And that it's a variety of different items that are being pieced together. And again, that's based on where you are in the timeline. And so like for TGL as a season 1 league, our fan engagement strategy and goals look a lot different than the NFL. Like
Yeah.
hands down. We are not comparable. So while we can go and look at the NFL for inspiration, again, that may not we're putting our users and our fans on a very different experience because we're teaching them the rules of TGL. What is
Yeah.
the hammer? What is
Yeah.
Jupiter Links? Why do they have 4 players? Like, we're teaching them just general gameplay rules right now.
Yeah.
And so that's where when you look at, like, this ecosystem, part of the ecosystem of fan engagement is to teach the user all about the gameplay of TGL. And then as you're teaching them and we launched, like, these explainer videos that were absolutely incredible, and it was one of our most trafficked paged on our website because the world was learning about what TGL was. So
Yeah.
that was a really great season 1 item. And now we're gonna, like, take it a layer deeper and a layer deeper. And so the ecosystem is evolving, but it really shouldn't be said like it's gamification. It's I got their data. They're now a known user. It is not that. It is truly what's the path and that journey that we're putting that fan on, and
Yeah.
then getting them to become stickier because that's the goal.
Yeah. I will say one personal anecdote. I think the thing that probably resonated with me the most, and I'm obviously not a traditional fan because I was behind the scenes as much as I was on the outside. The one email campaign that you guys did where identify what's your team, such a simple, no-brainer idea. I'm surprised not more partners haven't actually done it. It was just for the sake of the audience, for them to know what I'm talking about. There was an email that came. You were obviously we were I was part of the CRM, and so I was one of the
Yeah.
people that got this email campaign, and it essentially asked you a set of I think 8 questions, if I'm not wrong, multiple
Mhm.
choices. What do you do? Like, on weekends, what do you prefer to do? Do you dress up and go out? Do you go for brunches? Are you an athleisure and you're going for workouts? Or when you're going on a golf course, what are you looking to do? Are you trying to break a sweat? Are you hanging out with your buddies? And based on what answers you chose, it told you what team most likely to root for, which was so smart because, I guess if you think about fandom, traditional sports have built-in fandom, your city, your grandparents, your, legacy. Even that has become more fluid now. But there's traditional structures in place for a new league, an emerging league, and this is probably more relevant for most emerging leagues that are out there, and there's a new one every month at this point in time, it feels like. How do you build that fandom? Like, what is the hook that gets someone excited? Are you just a Jupiter Lynx fan because you're a Tiger fan? Or you're probably new to golf and you're not a legacy Tiger fan, and then you just want to figure out, like, and turns out my team came out to be the Bay team, the Bay Area team, because, I was probably more, the behaviors I exhibited were more akin to what that brand stood for, I suppose.
Yep.
But that was such a fun one for me that I was like, oh man, we really should be doing this because the data that you can get about the users from that, there's so much more you can do with that first party data now
Mhm.
from what you collected about me and
Yeah.
what kind of brands you target with me with, etc.
And that was a very successful campaign for us. It actually drove the highest number of new subscribers into our database of everything that we did.
Yeah,
And I think to your point, the reason why was because we're brand new. What is TGL? Who is TGL? Who are these teams? I know these players, but
yeah,
I don't know these teams and I don't know why, like, who do I root for? And your example of Tiger is a great example where there's a lot of people that are Tiger fans, but they may have no affinity to Jupiter, Florida, to the South. And
yeah,
so, should they become fans of Jupiter or should they become fans of LA because they like athleisure on the weekend
yeah,
and they like the beach and all these types of things. So, it was a really awesome tool that we used, frankly, at the perfect time. We
yeah,
we launched it in October as we were building up to just everything was about education. I go back to that goal. Like, that was the season of, like, it's all about educating the fan of what is TGL. So everything was the buildup of education. And frankly, in the month of January, that campaign just performed incredibly well because now you're seeing something in primetime ESPN, wondering more. It's like, okay, now help me shape this journey. And the great thing about something like that is we can now enhance it so much more going into season 2 when we look at, like, okay, now we have a whole new perspective on Minwoo Lee. Like, we got to see, like, what an awesome character, like, out there, and like, just people really resonated with him. So now we get to bring in Minwoo Lee's characteristics into the quiz, and that we really will heighten it. But I think in general, the authenticity of something like that was really important to us, which is why I think that we saw such great results.
but now just to touch upon the data that you captured from that, how much have you already used or have you thought about using some of that first party data that you're capturing in further brand campaigns? I mean, you're obviously a tech focused league. A lot of, you know, just one observation, a lot of the sponsors that were associated with TGL were all tech forward, whether it was SoFi or any of the brands that were sponsoring. It was always about that younger audience, tech first audience. How much of that data that you used, that you collected, can now be used going forward? You may not want to use it, but you are obviously in a position if you wanted to use it. Like, if I'm athleisure and like, oh, hey, by the way, Lululemon or Athlete or whatever,
Yeah.
there's a perfect segment of audiences that are, primed, qualified audiences, leads,
Yeah.
so to speak. How much of
Yeah.
that is going into your decision making framework? Maybe this is just one. Treat this as an example. There might be other things you might be doing with that data.
Sure. So this would be where we're glad we have it, but we're not doing anything with it yet. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is we're absolutely making plans and we're having the conversations. But one thing that was really important for us for year 1 especially was it was about building the audience. So if we overly segmented the audience, then we could be dividing the audience and we just didn't know enough about them. So
Yeah.
year 1 was build the audience. Year 2 is more learn the audience and, like, learn what works, what doesn't work. Like okay, great. We now know that this person specifically was an LA fan based on this quiz, which told us there's 4 characteristics on that quiz that we were generalizing by way of you becoming an LA fan. So now, based on that, we can put you on this journey or we can put you on that journey. And that is what season 2 is going to be all about. And we're
Yeah.
we're currently developing those plans. Just had a meeting not too long ago just about fan engagement and truly building out the data in such a way that will allow us to segment if we want, but we also have to decide what do we want to see with the data.
Yeah, I mean, truly, I mean, at this point in time, you at least have a baseline. And, when we talk about gamifying user journeys, you need some benchmarks, you need some baseline to then build off of. So I suppose, you're right. In year one, when there is no baseline, when there is no benchmark, you're just trying to create it and focusing on it. And that's where I feel like, it's never a one and done. It's an iterative process. You have to test and experiment and see what works or what doesn't, optimize for, A/B testing and then optimizing those journeys. And I love the fact that you guys are being very, sometimes much to our chagrin, we're like, oh man, we came up with so many ideas. We've only been using 10% of that. But like, it makes sense. The frameworks that you're using from a decision making standpoint. So speaking of that, is there anything that you can preview of what you want to do now that you have this baseline? How do you want to approach? Obviously, don't give away any surprises, or you might still be early in the planning journey. But like thematically, where are you guys wanting to take this going forward?
Yeah. I would say we're definitely still in the planning phase, only 3 weeks out of season. A lot of retrospecting's happened. Some ideation has absolutely already happened as well. But I think thematically speaking, really it's about digging deeper, like going a whole nother layer. And so again, year 1 was build the audience. Everything was lead gen. Like that's
Yeah,
really what it was about. Just get people in, get people in, get people in. But now we have a baseline. Like I think we did an incredible job as a year 1 league to build the audience as big as we did.
yeah,
Now we can start to understand who are our loyalists and why are they our loyalists? Like what journeys have they been put on that are making them our loyalist?
yeah,
To the example that you already, gave where they did find my team and they did find my team organically. Great. They are a loyalist versus someone that came in via sweepstakes. Like they may
yeah,
have been, hey, what's in it for me? That's all I need or care about. So I'm out. You got my data, but I'm out. And
yeah,
I'm not truly engaging with you. So now that we actually have those baselines, it's really about analyzing those baselines and then building. Like it truly is, this is about a build year. And so when we talk about like what that looks like, again, it's we can't compare ourselves to the NFL.
yeah.
We're brand new.
Or
We're s like
PGA. Yeah,
exactly, exactly, and we're very uniquely positioned because we are, we're taking from the game of golf, like we're complement to the game of golf, and so people are Rory fans. Great. They could also be a TGL fan and a Boston Common Golf fan.
yeah,
But right now, as the league, there's still a lot of, like, fandom in the league, more so, frankly, than we were expecting in year 1, but that's been a big thing that we've seen is that the
mm,
league right now owns a lot of the audience, and
yeah,
we truly want the teams to become those owners.
yeah,
And what we mean by that is, like, true fandom isn't to TGL or
yeah,
NHL or NFL. True fandom is to the Tampa Bay Lightnings or the Washington Commanders.
yeah.
And so we really do want to shift that pendulum of the fandom to Boston Common Golf, to Jupiter Links, to the Bay Golf Club. And so I think that the league is going to help support that in every way we possibly can. But we also have to recognize our fans might not be there yet. And so we are defining a journey.
Yeah.
And so for season 2, it may still be like ride the league high, ride the fact that people know what TGL is, but they don't know what LA Golf Club is. That's okay because we're gonna keep them engaged. But maybe by year 3, season 3 or season 4,
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, we really wanna make that the pendulum shift. So I think it's more long-term planning that we're looking at right now. We know that we want the fandom to reside with the teams, and we just gotta get the fans there.
There's so much I can talk about just in that point, but I think it's from a but I wanted to touch upon monetization. When you're
Mhm.
making decision when the decision making framework where we talked about time, resources, money, operational challenges. How much is monetization, especially from a digital landscape, important to you? Like in terms of ROI and stuff. Like if year one, it was, are you valuing how many emails you captured? Are you valuing how much sponsorship you sold? Are you tracking other product KPIs, time spent, repeat visits? Like, how do you think about monetization, especially in year
Yeah.
one and now going to year two?
Everything that you just said, 100% all of the above. Of course, our digital partners very closely with our sponsorship team, and we're always looking at what are the new cool things that we can build.
Yep.
And even to share a story of how we partnered with LiveLike, we
Yep.
built Genesis Moment of the Match. So Genesis was one of our founding partners. We have moment of the match, and we brought that to life through LiveLike and the platform and an experience you all built specifically for us. And
Yep.
so great example of partnership need, digital, how do they support? and then going to our tech stack and our partners, and LiveLike was an easy candidate. And we, like, the great thing was it was incredibly fast turnaround time, and all things TGL.
Yeah.
And so that was also what made it so great, because it wasn't like we were building something that required 6 months of dev work or 12 months of dev work. You guys were super just iterative with us, quick, nimble, fast, and we stood this up in a matter of 45 days, maybe even less, 30 days. And it was a program that ran throughout the entire season. So great example of how we're partnering with the partnership team and our sponsors, and making sure we're bringing that to life from a monetization. Otherwise, when we look at database, absolutely, like, everything we do, we're putting in through the lens of, like, CPA, what's this cost per acquisition? And again, going back to the meeting I just had probably about an hour ago now,
Yeah.
where it's like, what are we willing, like, what's the value of the fan? And so those are questions that we couldn't answer in season 1. You
Yeah.
can't put a dollar sign behind a fan in season 1.
Yeah.
Now you can start doing that in season 2. You can start to say, the value of this fan, this is our golden fan. Like, it's our golden record. Why is it our golden record? What data points do we have about this person that make them the gold standard, that make them worth X amount of dollars? So then you can start to make other monetization decisions on the basis of that. Well, if a fan that does XYZ is worth this much,
Yeah.
go ahead and put paid behind this. Go ahead and put a lot of other sponsorship dollars behind something to activate it more, to get it to more reach, because in the end, we know that we'll still have a profitable ROI on it.
That's, from how we work with our partners. Thank you for the shout out. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I know the team loved working with you guys, given how, it's always amazing when partners start coming up with ideas on their own and we're not seeding them,
Mm.
or well, I guess we seed them, but we're not constantly responsible for coming up with more ideas. Then it's just a matter of like, hey, what, like, you're challenging us in terms of what our capabilities are and what platform our platform can support. But one of the things that I wanted to also talk about is, LA, for example, has leaned into the idea of community, maybe because it comes from their ownership group and Reddit and, Alexis and all of those guys. How much is community? I'll tell you a personal anecdote. I'm a huge Formula One fan. The only Reddit subgroup that I follow is the Formula One subreddit.
Uh,
But the amount of time I spend on it, I don't. I actually am scared to find out how much time I'm on that Reddit group, because there's so many topics and conversation. And obviously, Formula One is a established sport. There's fandom, and Netflix's Drive to Survive helped with it. How much do you guys think of leaning into the idea of community, especially as you start driving fandom from leagues to teams?
mhm.
Because that's where true community comes into play, is when you have sort of fandom to lean on.
Yeah,
This is more of a, open-ended question. I don't
sure.
know where you are with it, but
Yeah, so it's definitely something we're discussing for season 2. We don't know. We don't exactly know where we're gonna land on it, and even think of it as like a scale of 5 being like the most, open community. You can say whatever you want,
yeah,
chat boards kind of idea, versus a scale of 1 is, we're allowing you to play amongst your friends. And so,
yeah,
to use something like Match Predictor as an example, also something you guys built for us.
yeah,
So I know you weren't asking for the plug, but hey,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Match Predictor was wildly successful, and we loved it. And it was great because it was truly one of the biggest goals for Match Predictor was engagement, is get people to come back and play more. And that's
yeah,
something that, after seeing the analytics, like, we have a lot that we get to learn from and do more of. But one of the ideas that came up recently was, do you like,
mm,
we can scale Match Predictor to be really big, like a
yeah,
bigger grand prize that's more season long, versus a smaller kind of week over week prize, versus a prize amongst your friends. And that's
yeah,
the community aspect that, you know, playing fantasy is one thing. Playing fantasy, at least for me, when I get to play fantasy amongst a friend group,
yeah,
it's more fun. That's community, and I think the
yeah,
world craves community. So I think that that's where we have to find that balance of
yeah,
1 to 5. And then to take that a layer deeper, your point about F1 and an established league is definitely the leading factor there, is that
yeah,
we're not like, we had a crazy successful season 1. The world knows who we are, but we still have a lot of educating to do, and we there's a lot of people who don't know what TGL is. Or, like I said, a fandom, like, we want people to not like we want people to follow the teams. It's not just about F1. It's about I am Mercedes and I'm Aston Martin, whomever I am, or I like this driver. So we still have our work to do there, and that will take time. And I can't sit here with a crystal ball and say
Yeah.
by season 3, everyone will know all the teams and all the
Yeah.
players and we'll be there. And so that's where we have to just look at the landscape, look at the data, frankly, and make a decision where it's like we're not getting too far advanced. And that's we have to be patient because there's a learning curve and a journey that cannot be compared to other leagues right now, and we're on our own journey.
I think the thing that you guys have that can be something we should think about leaning into collectively is you have a lot of creators and influencers that are investors in the league. So
Mm.
you have sort of brand ambassadors built in to your sort of ownership group, whether it's at a team level or league level. Sometimes it's both. But that's where I feel like there could be some opportunities where letting them be your voice and carry it forward and drive that educational journey could be something fun. Just to wrap it up, because we've been going for a while, we can go for another 30 minutes. But I wanna do some quick
Sure.
fire questions for you and see what your responses are. So let me start. I have a set question list. What's the one digital trend in sports you think is overhyped?
Mm. You actually said it earlier, doing something just for the press release, but yet the user doesn't actually need it. We should be giving users what they need and want, not what the press wants.
Yeah, I mean, look, candidly, this is something that has been the bane of our existence in the past as well. It's you get that quick fire deal, you have a brand associated with it, someone wants to do it. It's almost as if like if moment of the match is where we ended our association. Genesis wants it, they're gonna pay for it, do moment of the match, and we just stop there. But what else? What now? How do you like as a fan who I engage with it? So what? So yeah, definitely. What's the one tool or platform you can't live without right now?
Slack.
Okay, professionally Slack. Personally, anything else?
I would say, generally speaking, I am an Apple geek, and it's funny, like, someone said it so eloquently the other day, just they ended up switching everything they have to Apple, and it's because, again, the ecosystem, you just make it really easy and amazing, and whether it's reminders or Apple Notes
Yeah.
or photos, and again, I have a young child, a 3-year-old child, and
Yeah.
it makes it all easy. Sharing
Our
notes with your
memories
husband and your spouse,
is like a
the life is too
tearjerker
easy.
every single time. Have you gotten into using any of these AI apps, the Chat GPTs and the Perplexities?
I have a little bit, but I have not dabbled with him nearly as much, but I do have an upcoming maternity leave, so that'll be my chance to get up to speed on AI. I think the last 6 months, year has been all things TGL, not that TGL isn't connected to AI,
Yeah, of course.
but, now it gets to be more about, like, innovation and, like, learning how will we be bringing AI into the picture?
And making your life easier. I think that's where I've probably spent most time is just like how can these operator agents and these apps make my life easier? Like, almost like a virtual assistant of sorts. Cool. Which athlete or sports brand do you think nails digital engagement?
Premier League. And I'd say probably my part of my answer for that is because they are the league. And I have a perspective of the league rather than a team. And so what I particularly just admire about Premier League is their balance. Like they have great teams that do amazing fan engagement. Chelsea, Manchester, like they all do really awesome fan engagement specific to the fandom of that team. But I think that the Premier League doesn't just say, "Okay, well, we're the league. We're gonna
Yeah.
kinda let the teams do their thing." So their digital product is just beautiful, it's vibrant, and then they've just done a really nice job of fan experience and fan engagement in the way that they've allowed their platform just to engage and to be gamified, in a variety of different ways that
Yeah.
gives, again, the user whatever journey the user wants to be on, they're given that option.
That's awesome. I love that. Which industry would you jump into if you weren't working in sports?
Mm. Probably the nonprofit industry. I have
Okay.
a background in nonprofit a little bit. That's where I started my career.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I have a bit of a heart for change. Like we are the change that we can make impact on the world. And so I think nonprofits obviously do it better than anyone. So probably nonprofit.
That's awesome. I mean, especially in today's time, the whole public-private partnership. My wife works in the nonprofit space, has been for the last decade, so I have a soft spot for that as well. What's one metric you're obsessed with right now, and why?
Mm. Uh, Average time spent on site, that was a big one for us, for season 1 because you're getting people on the site, and then are you keeping them? Again, year 1,
Yeah,
brand new website, brand new app. That was what we cared about. Did we get you to stay? Did we get you
yeah,
to consume? Was it above average like industry standard? And were you staying on the pages we thought you would stay on? And so that was the metric that hands down I cared and we cared the most about.
I love that. That's one of the places where when we work with media companies who obviously care about that as well, like, the one area where we help them, obviously games can help you bring a top of the funnel, and but then there are games that can help you with daily retention, like New York Times now. Like, I go to that games app every day, right? It's appointment viewing. But then apps like Bleacher Report or Yahoo Sports, where they lean into the power of discussions and fans and you know conversations. That has been it's actually been really interesting to see the whole model of 80/20, like lurkers, how many people are active participants, how many people are just there to see. Like, I have never sent a single message in Reddit, but God, I spent hours on it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I'm more often than not, I'll see a highlight, but what I really care about is what people say about the highlight. And
Yeah.
and it's just fun. All right. Well, on that note, Kara, this was awesome. I genuinely enjoyed the discussion. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Um,
Absolutely.
and hopefully we'll get to do one more again, but post post maternity leave.
Post-maternity leave, I like that. I've got a few weeks of, AI and a baby calling my name,
There you
but
go.
it's been an honor, and I can't thank you enough for you and your team's partnership of bringing a lot of different things to life this year for TGL.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Future of Fandom. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and follow LiveLike on LinkedIn for more conversations with the people shaping what's next in the world of sports and media. Until next time, keep building for fans, not just users.